Ladies and gentlemen, we meet again towards Parashat Vayigash for a short and sweet idea. Very exciting parasha, moment we've been waiting for. Yosef is revealing himself to his brothers. He's telling them about his real identity, and they're in a state of shock. And he does four things. Two of the things he does are not surprising, and two others he does are very surprising. We have to understand what he does and why he does it. So the first two things he does, after he tells everybody to leave the room, except in the room are only him and his brothers, not even the translators, everybody's out of the room. All of a sudden he switches into Hebrew and tells them, Ani Yosef Achichem, I am your brother. They're shocked to hear him speak Hebrew, because until now everything went through a translator. So we understand that. He shows that he is fluent in Hebrew. The second thing is, he says, Ani Yosef Achichem, I am Yosef. I'm not Sofnat Paneach. I haven't adopted some kind of Egyptian name. Everybody calls me this Egyptian name, but I'm not really that Egyptian. My real identity is Yosef, my Jewish name. So these two things we understand. But then two other things we don't fully understand. One is he calls all the brothers to come closer. Gashuna elai vayigashu. Come closer to me. I want to speak to you from close proximity. And he brings them all together except Binyamin. Chazal say he speaks to all of them, but Binyamin keeps far away. We would have thought the opposite. Binyamin, he must want to hug and he wants to keep him closer to himself. It is his precious brother from both sides, of mother and father. So no, he wants everybody closer to him except for Binyamin, which is surprising. And the final thing, which I think is most surprising, Rashi brings down, he brings them closer to show them that he is circumcised, which is the physical proof that he is one of them. He shows them that he's circumcised. Surprising. The last two are very surprising. Kli Yakar, Rabbi Ephraim Milunshitz, who was a great rabbi in Prague, 17th century, Czechoslovakia, has incredible insight. He says, let's look at this for a moment from a different angle. We know that 210 years later, when they exiled and they had the exodus from Egypt, why were they saved from Egypt? So Chazal tell us they were saved from Egypt because they kept four things. What are the four things they kept? They didn't change their name. They didn't change their language. They kept to Hebrew. They didn't say Lashon Hara about each other. They didn't slander each other. And they didn't intermarry. They didn't marry Egyptian or non-Jewish girls. Those were the four issues that, thanks to these four issues, we managed to get out of Egypt. And actually what is happening here, says the Kli Yakar, an incredible insight. He says, as Yosef is actually bringing his brothers to Egypt, he's giving them the keys of how to get out of Egypt. The first key is, he speaks to them in Hebrew. You shouldn't change your language. Second thing is, he says, Ani Yosef Achichem. I am Joseph. I'm not going to change, don't change your name either. The third thing is, I'm bringing you all closer to tell you, you shouldn't worry about selling me here. But he brings them without Binyamin, because he doesn't know if Binyamin knows about his selling, because Binyamin was not around when he was sold as a slave. And he doesn't want to be the one to tell him. So he didn't want to do any Lashon Hara, didn't do any slander. So he brings all the brothers around without Binyamin. So he's careful with Lashon Hara, which was the third issue, the reason why we got out of Egypt, and the final issue why we got out of Egypt, that we didn't intermarry. So Chazal say something very surprising here, that one can see on the human bris milah, whether a person has defiled it by being with a non-Jewish woman. And by showing them his bris milah, he showed, I didn't defile it. You can see, I was never with a non-Jewish woman, because actually he married Osnat. Osnat was the daughter of Dinah. Dinah is his sister. So actually, this is a magical idea of the Kli Yakar. And he's saying the moment he brings them down to Egypt, at that same moment, he's giving them the keys to get out of Egypt. Don't change your name. Don't change your language. Be careful of Lashon Hara. Don't slander. And don't intermarry. And these are the keys for the first Geula. And these will be the keys for the last Geula. B'mheira b'yameinu. Amen.